Hello, my name's Mike, and today I'm going to talk about walking. During the summer of 2020, I lost in the region of 30 kilograms or 66 pounds, and I did this by following a strict diet, by weight training, which increases your metabolism, and by walking, and pretty much walking every day, and that would be power walking, walking with pace and purpose, in order to burn as many calories as possible. Now, a typical 1 hour walk you're probably going to burn something in between 200 and 300 calories, depending on speed and hills, etc. And in this case, I'm climbing up a moor in order to burn as many calories as possible. During COVID lockdown, here in England, you were entitled to 1 hour's walk a day by yourself or as a family bubble or whatever it was called. And quite often I would make it home with only seconds to spare. And like Mariah and Whitney once sang, there can be miracles.
Okay, I've just come to a big pile of brambles and nettles and weed, and long grass. I'm a bit wet now. It's far from ideal. Back to the subject of weight loss. I was obese, and getting fat was something that took years. And losing the weight was something that took months. And it depends on your starting point, but you need to be realistic. So it requires patience, hard work, dedication, commitment, and being smart. I mean, do you really want to reward that 300 calorie walk, the 400 calorie chocolate cupcake? Cake? Well, do you?
Okay, so I'm walking past this farm to the top of the hill, where 4 years ago were a pair of alpacas, a creature which I'd read had some sort of antiviral property, and my fevered COVID brain decided to give them some sort of magical powers.
About the top of the hill, there's a sign back there which says, "Do not chase the sheep." Bearing in mind, I come from Wales. It's very difficult instruction for me to follow, and this one seemed to have taken a shine to me. Hello. Sadly, there's no sign of my friends from 4 years ago. They're not here anymore, which makes me sad. Wonder how long they haven't been here. Little did I know that 4 years ago I would have such a close emotional connection to a South American camelid. All right, I suppose that this is the climax, probably the wrong word to use, of this particular walk. See you still.
The Luddites were a movement of early 19th century textile workers, mainly in the Midlands and Yorkshire, who were opposed to the growth of labour-saving machinery in the mills. They were named after a fabled character called Ned Ludd, who was said to have smashed up 2 knitting machines with a hammer in a fit of rage. The Luddites certainly didn't mess around. They were well armed and organised, and were known to assassinate mill owners as well as smashing machinery. In modern English, the word Luddite is often used to describe someone who opposes technology or change.
Because you've never felt the urge to smash an automated supermarket checkout, have you? Luddite. Today's walk is called the Luddite Trail, and I'm standing at a monument called the Dumb Steeple, which is where it starts. And it was here on the 11th of April 1812 that a group of over 150 to 200 Luddites gathered. And their intention was not a spot of countryside rambling, but was to make a bit of trouble at mill. The mill in question being Rawfolds Mill, owned by a Mr. William Cartwright. The mill was somewhere like 4 miles away. It doesn't exist anymore. Also, I'm not going to do the full trail because I'm going to try and stick to the hour, which I was allocated during COVID. Right, let's begin the trail. There's no time to waste. Let's head up Leeds Road at some pace. Welcome to Kirklees. I'm a little bit croaky today. I've got hay fever, comes a van. At a location which is now a popular steakhouse and used to be a pub called the Three Nuns. In my experience, nuns are generally naughty, but the nuns that resided at this location, known as Kirklees Priory, were very naughty indeed. In fact, one was incredibly naughty, and more about her later. In the 14th century, the priory got a reputation of being something of a bordello by the Bishop of York. And sadly, the priory was dissolved by Henry VIII in the early 16th century. And one of the nuns, Catherine Grace, was said to have been seduced by one of King Henry's commissioners, got pregnant, and then sadly committed suicide with the shame of it all. The location is said to be haunted. So I guess if you go and order a steak, you might get more than you bargain for. It's like a small poltergeist with his filet mignon and chunky chips. Okay, this mark says the Kirklees Way, but it's actually the Luddite Trail as well. It's currently July, and in England we're having a summer to forget. It's probably the first dry day in quite a while, nearly a week, and as you can see, the trail is muddy, so just as well that I'm wearing some sturdy boots. So currently at a stile on the Luddite Trail. The trail is marked by this sign, the symbol 2 hammers, which represents machine braking, of course. In the trees yonder lies the ruins or remnants of Kirklees Priory. I think there's only the gatehouse remaining. We're not allowed in there. It's private land. And that way yonder takes us to Hartshead Moor, which is the way we're going to do the trail. Oh, did I mention an incredibly naughty nun? Well, in front of me, in the trees, lies the location of what used to be Kirklees Priory, and it is there that resided the very naughty nun who murdered Robin Hood, no less. His grave lies further to the east, or to the left in this view, and it can be seen on Google Maps. However, you're not allowed to go and visit it because it's on private land. You don't need to take my word for it. The idea that Robin Hood was murdered and buried at Kirklees goes back hundreds of years. In fact, it goes back to the earliest known record of Robin Hood, a ballad known as A Guest of Robin Hood, which dates back to the 15th century, maybe earlier, though it's set a couple of hundred years earlier. The ballad tells us that Robin lived in Greenwood for 22 years during the reign of one of the early King Edwards. Then he was beguiled by the wicked prioress of Kirklees, who was of his kin. Maybe his cousin or something. Sounds a bit dodgy. She was in love with a complete scoundrel called Sir Roger of Doncaster. And for some reason, they plotted to slay him and lure him to Kirklees.
It's a bit of a sorry ending for our hero Robin Hood. Tomorrow I must do Kirkley craftily to be letten blood, before being betrayed and bled to death by the prioress. Christ have mercy on his soul that died on the road, for he was a good outlaw, and did poor men much good. Imagine you might have music being played when you read that out. And that was that. Later tales built on the original legend and stated that his dying action was to fire an arrow through the Priory gatehouse window and be buried where the arrow landed. The grave has been scrutinised and checked, but there's no evidence of Robin Hood being there, which is probably a good thing, because I think he's better off being a phantom hidden in the mist of time. I find the fact that Robin Hood is buried in this location quite fascinating. In fact, it inspired me to once write a novella about a boy who finds the grave of Robin Hood and meets the spirit of Robin Hood. As you can see, it now has 3.31 stars on Goodreads. Might be time to move it to mediocre reads. Right, let's get moving. Oh, did I forget to mention the Bronte connection to this walk? Behind me is the Church of St. Peter, which is where the father of the famous Bronte sisters, Patrick Bronte, was curate during the evening of the 11th of April 1812, and he witnessed the Luddites walk past. In fact, his whole recollections of the time would be used by his daughter Charlotte as a basis for her novel Shirley many years later. I'm now at Robertstown, known locally as Bobtown. Cartwright's mill would have been a couple of miles in that direction, but it's no longer there. The Luddites, on the evening of the 11th of April 1812, failed in their attack on the mill. William Cartwright had been expecting the attack and had prepared a stout defence. He, along with 6 workers, 5 militiamen and a dog, saw off the attack. The The Luddites fled in disarray, leaving their wounded lying on the ground.
Right, just approaching the Star Inn in Robert Town. And there's a plaque on the side which says, following the failed attack, 2 wounded Luddites were brought to the Star Inn for questioning. The Reverend Hammond Roberson, was present as John Booth and Samuel Hartley were interrogated. The authorities wanted the names of the other Luddites involved and used aqua fortis or nitric acid on their wounds. That was nice of them. It is said that as Booth lay dying, he beckoned the vicar to lean close and whispered, "Can you keep a secret?" Robeson replied, "I can." To which Booth responded, "So can I," and died. Quite a set of cojones on this Booth character. Right, so time to head downhill now. Right, we're nearing the end of the walk. This is Hollybank School. Don't really want to be filming it with a video camera. It's formerly known as Rowhead School, and it gives us another Bronte connection. Charlotte Bronte started at the school in 1831 and would later return as a teacher. Anne Bronte was said to be a star pupil, something of a geek. And Emily, probably the flightiest of the sisters, she came to the school for a short while, but returned to Haworth soon after. Haworth is about 16 miles away. I imagine she wanted to be with her Heathcliff, be he real or imaginary.
Found a friend here. Hello, my lovely. Oh, lots of flies about on there. Oh, take it easy, pal. Take it easy. Okay, nearing the end of my walk. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Right, better get back. Running out of time.
And whereas Cinderella rushed off, fearing her carriage would transform back into a pumpkin, my metaphorical pumpkin would be a visit from the COVID police. And while Cinderella may have suspected that her prince would come looking for her, sadly, I knew in my heart that my beloved alpaca would never come looking for me.
Don't underestimate the value of walking for your mental health. When Wordsworth wandered o'er hill and dale, as lonely as a cloud, he did it presumably because he had something on his mind. He didn't power wander. Well, if he did, he didn't tell anyone about it. Do you really want to use that valuable gym time walking on a treadmill for an hour? Didn't think so. Get out there, go and enjoy the sights, sounds and smells. For goodness sake.